I think with that said, I think we'll jump into the reaction stuff from yesterday. So there was a roadmap roundup and a monthly report. The roadmap was very small, so we're going to include that together in one. I think just notable changes are image upscaling, which includes DLSS, FSR, and in-house TSR are added to 323. Now, what I can say about the Evo build is DLSS wasn't there. FSR and TSR were there. I think they were probably what was causing a lot of the instability, and because the test was incredibly unstable and they didn't look very good. And then volumetric clouds, the test was so unstable that I was unable to see anything. I never made it past the Microtech train, so I was actually never able to see clouds or volumetric fog or any of that kind of stuff. But apparently there's a new option for clouds, which is like super intensive on your GPU and CPU, but there was no fuzziness or anything, and the clouds look, it was called reference, and the clouds look really good. So that's kind of included in what we had in the build yesterday. So that's really all I have to add to the roadmap update. And with that, we'll take a look at the monthly report, which everybody is saying lots of good things about. I did a quick skim. I honestly didn't see too many great things, but everyone was pretty excited about it and gave me some like, hey, make sure you look at these. To be honest, this AI features one is very interesting to me because it's usually filled with stuff. And this time they were like, we continue to develop features for a key initiative, the first iteration, which is planned for Alpha 3.3, and further details will be revealed on the run-up to release. Like, they're trying to... It seems like they're pretty excited about something and don't want to tell us about it, which is okay. That just has me intrigued because they're usually very open here, and they're not for some reason, which I like. AI tech is like, okay, again, they say this every week that an NPC can push a trolley, I feel like, every month. And yeah. Ship behaviors were also iterated on to deliver better ship versus turret combat. Fighters will now correctly target standalone turrets and perform appropriate combat behaviors. All right, numerous updates were added to the Apollo tool, which is a subsumption, basically. And yeah, that's not really for us. Ship art is Polaris is progressing to LOD 0. Help me out here, chat. I don't really pay attention to ships very much. LOD 0 is like the best looking version, right? And then the higher LODs are the worst looking versions, right? But it's also just in gray box. So LOD 0 doesn't mean it's like final art or anything. So like when I saw LOD 0 initially, I was like, whoa, final art on the Polaris already? No way. I guess it's LOD 0 of gray box. Okay. And some interior sections were worked up to establish a visual target, while others were redesigned to accommodate gameplay and improve alignment with the art direction. That's such a good thing to just hear. I hope it's like accommodating gameplay, because a lot of the older ships have to be redone to accommodate gameplay. So hopefully they learn from that for future passes on older ships. More like upcoming variants, gold standard pass on the Aegis Retaliator, which is in gray box. And then they mention all of the modules. So the base cargo, bombing, torpedo modules are progressing well. But how is modularity progressing? I don't know. 2 unmanned vehicles, again, like they're just not really saying anything. And then the Zeus approaches the end of gray box with the team polishing geometry around the ship. Redesign of the cargo hold is nearly complete, as are changes to the inner frame of the ramp. Okay, redesign ship-to-ship docking ring. Mess hall. Yeah, they're not really saying anything of, I think, value for the game, but people who bought the ship are probably pretty excited that it's progressing. Weapons art. They worked through a host of updates planned for Alpha 3.3 23, including scope magnification and optic improvements. The aim is to overhaul the whole scope system to bring it up to the modern FPS standards. The existing iron sights across all weapons were updated too. Alongside this, updates were made to improve and streamline reloading across all weapons. Now, again, I did play a little bit of Arena Commander in 323, and there's again, it's not ready for feedback. There were still a ton of issues there. I did see some of the new scopes. Some, I would say, one of them looked good. The rest of them did not look up to the CitizenCon standard. In a private Evo chat with one of the developers, he kind of shared why, and I'll leave that to them. Maybe they talk about it on ISC today. But yeah, there was a lot of issues around the weapons, and it was basically, I pretty much got thumbs up. We know, like, don't worry about it kind of thing. It's just an Evo test, and we don't care. Like, it's nothing worth noting and will be addressed is basically what it felt like. Community stuff, I imagine there's not much to talk about here. And then, like every month from now on, I think core gameplay is going to be incredibly beefy. That's like 2 pages worth of stuff here. So I did like skim through this and I missed a lot. So chat, please like spam loud emotes if I miss something, okay? Core gameplay pillar continued to refine and improve new backpack reloading ahead of QA testing. For example, magazines are now repacked in a player's inventory, so multiple half-empty bags are condensed into fewer full ones. I've spoken very much on the idea that I don't like what I saw at CitizenCon, but then they kind of at some point shared that it was going to take time. Like there was going to be a spool timer or whatever. So as long as condensing mags takes time and you can't fire while you're doing it, you can't do anything while you're doing it, I'm okay with that. If it's automatically happening while I'm shooting at other players, plus the fact that there's a backpack reload, I would hate that. Support continued for ongoing scope updates, included correctly folding down iron sights when iron sights are attached. Support for blur on the outside of sights is currently underway. I did see the blur in Evo. I also saw iron sights not folding down correctly in Evo. So, yeah, they're not quite there yet, and that's fine. The team also enabled weapon customization UI to look more holographic ahead of a UI styling pass. Why does everything have to be holographic? Why does everything have to be holographic? Why does everything have to be holographic? Why? Because it's cool. Play the game, and you'll know it's not cool. Like, honestly, it's not cool. I've played the game. Can I see a different color than blue? Please. I'm sorry. It's one of the things. I'm sorry. It might be a pet peeve of mine. I think it is the single most annoying, like, visual design choice that they've made. The hollow stuff everywhere. I can't stand it. For item wear and misfire, further work was completed on the accumulator system. Additional tools were implemented to make working and testing system easier too. Is wear and tear coming at 323? I don't even remember. Excuse me. For player interaction, the team spent a lot of time bug fixing and polishing. They also had the game option to hide the F prompt and added a new control hint for when an off-screen interaction is available. Okay. Devs added the ability to show the loot screen. This is actually pretty smart. So you should be able to turn off the interactions, but then if you need to see things, you can turn on the control hints. So like for the machinima people, they have options. The devs added the ability to show the loot screen from the interaction wheel. Players will also now auto-crouch if the object they're looting is below them. Support was added to automatically open the inventory UI instead of the loot screen if the lootable container is above a certain capacity. All right. I think that's more of a thing I need to see in the game. The team are working on a replacement for the legacy quick buy UI using building blocks. This was also used for renting vehicles during events. Work continued on the freight elevator kiosk UI backend too. All right. For the ongoing visor lens HUD rework, progress continued on various UI elements. Regarding EVA, they're trying to improve networking support. Yikes, that's scary. And ensure that players' arms and held entities don't clip into their torsos when traversing and rotating. For prone, players are now forced out when they perform actions that require them to crouch, such as melee attacks. I can only imagine what prone melee looked like. It was probably hilarious. For Master Mode's core gameplay continued to work on design tune archetypes. They have so far completed around 90% of the initial conversion, with further tuning passes and refinement to be done before release. So does that mean 90% of the ships are in and ready to go? That's kind of cool. Work continued with jump points. Team implementing and updating the alignment mechanic. New UI was also added to give players information on whether their ships are capable of completing travel. Successful tests transitioning between Stanton and Pyro across 2 separate servers were completed too. So it does look like ship size is going to play into this. And if I remember correctly, the Stanton to Pyro jump point is a small or a medium. So ship size might come into play there. We'll have to see. For Resource Network engineering, heat gameplay was added, which enables items to generate heat based on their usage. Items will require coolant, if necessary, and will overheat and degrade in functionality if not addressed. All I see is, like, do our coolers actually matter now? Glancing over that jumping worked. Well, it obviously worked. We're testing it on Friday. Of course, I'm glancing over it. If it didn't work, why would we be testing it on Friday? Is it just RP heat? I don't think so. I think heat will eventually degrade the component, right? Which is what they say. Degrade in functionality, if not addressed. It's not really RP. Right? I don't know. Life support is now fully integrated into the resource network with the life support generator and tank now fully functional. That's kind of a big deal too. And then debugging tools were added for the room system to help better understand how the resource network and life support interoperate. And then this is something DJ is very happy about. This is, I guess, his team. For radar and scanning, core gameplay completed an important refactor to reduce the number of radar components on vehicles and share data between seat operators. Previously, each seat operator had its own unique radar. Why? Now, vehicles can share a single radar across all operators. This means that a pilot or radar operator can focus on collecting radar and scan results that are then shared between all vehicle turrets, rather than each turret needing to scan for themselves. That makes mining in a mole very cool, especially if you can. How do you share that data? You know, that would be neat. Well, like, I'm just thinking of a mole and sharing the data of a given rock or something. While it's still possible for vehicles to contain multiple radars, in time, the team will merge the majority into a single shared unit that will not only improve performance, but gameplay too. Team also supported elevators for the upcoming instance hangars and supported quantum travel and markers working alongside server meshing when transitioning to a new solar system. We'll check all this in the test on Friday. This is the look at the new water, apparently, on Clio Islands. I did hear there was a sneak peek at the new water. Looks terrible. Doesn't look like SitCon. Looks bad. Why is this white? That's not it. Okay, good. Because it looks bad. And, yeah. We'll see. For Arena Commander, the team continued work on streaming, allowing Arena Commander to get persistent universe things. Engineering work for custom lobbies is nearing completion. That's a big one for a lot of people. Several internal tests were conducted on the engineering experimental mode. After an update to the backend matchmaker, new loadouts were created and all the equipment engineers will need for the mode, which is being prepared for a go, no-go for an upcoming release. Why are they saying for an upcoming release when it's literally a fucking card on the roadmap? But okay. Recently, focus has been on functionality. This is just Arena Commander stuff. Finally, the team completed the backend work for Grav Royale. We know we've been playing that. Core gameplay continued to work on underlying mission system refactor ahead of server meshing. We're going to see how that went in the 3.22.1 or whatever test that we're doing tomorrow. Contracts manager for Mobiglass. Oh, this is a really big one, actually. It's a really big one in terms of conversationally, but I don't think it's going to work very well initially. An update was made to reputation-based hostility. This is probably the biggest thing coming out of the mission team, in my opinion. Ensuring that if someone is being attacked, any nearby allied or security faction members will come to their defense. This also means that factions with negative reputation with the attacked player will not intervene. Now, do we expect AI to work? No. The only question that I have on this is, what does nearby mean? Allied is defined by reputation, very clearly there. I don't know why that's not being understood. But what I'm curious about is if they're in your like nearby radar area, or can they jump in to help you? Because in reality, what needs to happen if you are in a Stanton system is if you're attacked by a player, AI probably, and you're near whatever near means, safe areas, AI probably need to jump in and help you, right? That's sort of what I want to see out of the game. I don't know if you guys want to, but that's sort of how I read that. And we'll see what that actually means in the actual game. But I would love to see security, like literally quantum travel to us. But we'll have to see. The contracts manager was converted to building blocks. Persistent instance hangars. Work began on the instance interior system. This manages which hangar instances exist, need to be created, and which physical gateways are used to transition between the instance and the rest of the game world. Sounds like they're still making them, right? But we'll see. Yeah, but fiddling with the numbers in terms of what will make it in and what will, like, what's jumping in and what isn't, like, it really comes down to, is it something that is streamed in, or is it something that is not, right? Also, here's a big one for the cargo haulers. Team implemented the initial version of automated cargo loading and unloading, including displaying information on ASOP terminals that the ship is currently unavailable for retrieval due to being loaded or unloaded. And if you tie that into the sneak peek that we saw last week of the fact that the ground of your instance hangar will open and the ship will come up, means that all that will be done below. You won't be seeing any of it. And when it's loaded, you get your ship. Boop, and that's it. So it'll all be done behind the scenes, and then you'll just have your ship loaded with cargo. And if you want to wait, you can wait. So it's just a timer, LOL, for now. What do you guys want? Like, this is, I have such a hard time with this community. And it's not just this community. It's Chris Roberts. It's Jared. It's everybody that tries to portray this game as something that it cannot be, right? Because here's what's been happening over the last little while. The last, year, maybe two, it's been a lot of CIG actually making the game and realize that they can't deliver on some of the ridiculous things that they've said, right? And let's just think about this one for just a second. The instance hangars are the size of a normal hangar. So let's say, what ships are you going to automatically load? The large ones, most likely, because it's going to be super annoying. Think about the Caterpillar, right? Now you know you're going to be able to automatically load and unload a Caterpillar. Cool. With that said, how do you spawn another ship while that's happening? Nobody can complain besides me. Yes, that's it. No, I think you can complain, but have it make sense, right? Like, if you're disappointed by the fact that you're not going to see AI loading and unloading your ship, I sort of understand that. But at the same time, like, let's think for a second about how that would actually work, right? Is I'm using a caterpillar and I'm loading and unloading my caterpillar automatically in my ship. So the idea would be having, like, you know, fucking robots floating around, or AI loading, like, you know, player AI loading my ship. But then how do I spawn another ship while that's happening? You can't. So you have to deal with this from like a behind the scenes scenario and just a loading timer. And like, I don't hear too many people complaining about it on the refinery side. I don't hear too many people complaining about it on like claiming your ship or what. Like, I'm not watching people build it, right? So for me, I personally can't see how it could be done. The only time that you could see how it could be done is on the extremely large ships that are docked to a station and are loaded outside, right? That's the only thing I can think. But yeah, like, you got to take what you can get. Because, I mean, we already have that now. So if you're typing copium, like, it's how the whole sea works right now. But I just don't see how the instance hangar could work with the AI loading your ship. So it's just like, when I saw that complaint, I'm like, it just doesn't seem like a logical complaint. But I know the expectation was actually there at some point because CIG set that expectation. I'm less mad at the person who said it in chat and more mad that CIG set that expectation for that player in the first place, right? That's the issue I really have. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think this is awesome. Progress was also made on freight elevator and loading platform occlusion logic, which determines where items can be placed on the elevator or platform. Support was also given to the locations team for marking up hangars with loading platforms and freight elevators. Finally, for core gameplay, the teams worked on various debug tools to aid in testing and debugging. Okay, cool. Economy, they say they made major changes to bring salvage more in line with the PU's other careers. So it's been nerfed to oblivion because it was ridiculous. They're currently rebalancing commodities to improve the cargo career experience too. So now tie in what we just talked about with the adding the cargo timers all the way to the price of commodities and all that stuff as well. Warehouse system on the core gameplay stuff. Where did I miss? Where's the warehouse? I'll control F. I didn't even scroll past it yet. Why are you typing that to me? I didn't even get there yet. The word warehouse is not in. Last paragraph, core gameplay. Finally, for core gameplay, the team worked on various debug tools, aid in testing and debugging the various systems to drive instance hangars, the warehouse system, and loading platforms. Guys, the word system is there. It's just their internal, like, the system that decides whether or not. I didn't skip custom lobbies. I didn't skip it. That address the like where the cargo goes and comes from. I don't think that's like a public facing feature. I think it's just, yeah, like their internal language. So I don't know. Economy is very exciting. I think for cargo haulers, they're going to get a huge change, it looks like. And yeah, the game is going to change completely for them. Support was also provided for Xenothreat Global Event, and the team began looking at FPS ammo prices. That's weird. But okay. And then apparently all this is a big deal, the graphics and VFX stuff. February saw the Vulcan team pushing hard towards release. I think that's what somebody wanted me to point out. Devs from the Water Strike team closed out the issues that came up with their final review. What I've seen so far is not CitizenCon worthy, but we'll see what happens on the actual 323 release. And then lighting. I mean, this image here looks fantastic in terms of lighting, but obviously, I don't know if we'll have this view at any point. And then locations is the new hangar experience. All you got to look at how tiny this guy is. So this is one of the really, really big hangars. And this is definitely the same situation where this is the floor and this is opening up where like a reclaimer size hangar would be, is my guess. Grimhex as well with these red lights, possibly. We know that there's a reclaimer size hangar on Grimhex. My guess is this is Grimhex that they're showing here. And then Sandbox 2 team, more level design. And this does look like the outside of a distribution center. Too clean for Hex. Yeah, but where do you get these red like LED lights, right? Hangar 13 fits in Idris at Grim. Yeah, it's huge. So I think that's what this is. This is Hangar 13 at Grim. Does Grim have this yellow in it, or is this Hurston maybe? Or is it just maybe the hangar? Could be warning lights? I don't think so. You know, maybe I'll go in game and look at Grim and see if we can do like a 1-to-1 comparison. Mission design. They continue to work on the Overdrive mission that we all know about, so I don't know why they're hiding it there. Elsewhere, and maybe there's another mission chain that we don't know about. Elsewhere, designs for new missions are currently being signed off, while content and technical requirements are underway for future hauling content. Hauling missions. Development of Xenothreat 2.1 continued. Gameplay implementation with freight elevators and blockade runner. I don't know, man. The mission stuff I've been so underwhelmed by lately. I hope cargo missions are good. Narrative. Distribution centers featured a wide variety of missions, new and old. Additionally, narrative work began on new Pyro-based missions to help expand the gameplay at its various locations. Future story missions. These will be more involved than typical missions, features things like bespoke dialogue and custom logic. The hope is that these types of missions will serve to build out the story of the wider universe and work alongside the more traditional systemic missions. You love to hear that, because I think it's been over a year since they've hired people to work on this specifically. And this is maybe the first time I have heard on actual missions with actual dialogue, with the intention to build out the story of the universe. So I think that's a very important paragraph being written there in the narrative section. But we won't know what it actually means until they come into the game. And nothing that we've seen so far in like Overdrive or anything like that we are aware of has any of that stuff yet. Maybe it is something that's there that hasn't been implemented into those missions or something yet. R&D, they're doing the temporal rendering, which again in Evo was not very good. Animations. This is a big one. Large contingent of the department is working on an asset setup for lockers. These will be placed throughout the verse and allow players and NPCs to change their apparel to something more appropriate for their current priorities. The goal was always great. Not great. The idea was always that if you're in your ship, you might not be able to sit in your seat in armor. There was another thing that was like NPCs will look at you weird if you were running around in a flight suit at a landing location, right? So like civilian clothes versus military clothes. And then VFX, planetary ground storms where fog was coming in too thick. They're trying to fix that stuff, and it's difficult to balance. That is the roadmap roundup of the monthly report. What are the highlights? Highlights, I think for me, cargo timers. I definitely think this image is a highlight. Really big hangars are in. The Vulcan seems to be moving along. Economy. Cargo changes, very, very big. 7 new ships. Okay, man. Open that wallet. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it. A lot of the core gameplay stuff was big, right? It's hard to name all of them. Engineering experimental mode is still going. Again, I think this doesn't look very good. Like I can literally see like they chose the worst image possible. Yeah. The radar thing, I don't know yet. I think that's something that, like, the way it was written, I'm not sure how this impacts us too much until we see it. The heat gameplay is something really interesting. Jump points, obviously. Master modes, a lot of stuff, right? But outside that, like, again, I didn't think this was as big of a deal this month. Like, I didn't even make a dedicated video on the main channel or anything like that. So, shared radar is good, so you can all see the same thing. I mean, we all see the same thing anyway. And we don't use our radars right now, so, like, as much, right? So I'm curious how that's all going to play out in terms of, like, marking targets or, with the new maps and things like that. How does that all play into it? So for me, how's that going to work out, right? That's what I'm curious about. It gives more questions than it gave answers for me, and it's one of those things that we'll see it when it comes in game. Modularity, maybe, question mark, right? So there's some stuff there in the ship section that's interesting, and then this weird little AI feature. So those were the highlights that I would say. But in general, I think we know that there's a 323 Evo on the horizon with hopefully actual features, and we'll have to see what happens with all this. I actually don't really know what to expect here for 323 and all this just yet. I'm just looking forward to the fact that most of those things in the core gameplay filler were for 323. That's going to be a lot of things to go through and see how they are. But super excited for it, and yeah, some surprises there, some not so surprising things, and we'll see what happens, guys. It's really it. It's all we can do. We are at their mercy, sadly.